Good morning. On behalf of our founders, President Molly Martins and Mr. Al Martins, I am honored and delighted to welcome you to the Academy at Penguin Hall Combined Baccalaureate and Graduation Ceremony. Welcome parents, family, and friends, those of you here in your seating pods, and those of you joining us through the miracle and trickiness of technology. Welcome APH faculty, administrators and staff, current students, and alumni. Welcome members of the Board of Trustees. Welcome especially to you, the women of our graduating class of 2020. The very fact that we are here today, under this warm August sunshine, is testament to your courage when faced with adversity. What a year. When you are old and grayer even than me, you will still be telling the stories of how the year 2020 changed everything. And yet, some things remained the same. At their heart, baccalaureate and graduation always mark an ending that is also a beginning. A beginning that is also an ending. Yes, our time of recognizing this transition looks somewhat different this year. But this morning still offers us a sacred pause, a moment to reflect back on all we've been through individually and together that has brought us to this moment. I invite you to be open to the fullness of what is in your own heart this morning at this threshold moment. And let us ready our hearts as a community for the letting go, the sending off that is to come. And now Caitlin Fusillo will share our opening invocation.
It's a long walk from those pods. Good morning. Nope, that's not me. Okay, all right, thank you. Oh God, source of all love, in the year that brought so many unexpected challenges, help us remember that you are the grace that surrounds us all, always. As we begin our celebration and baccalaureate for the class of 2020, we give thanks for the gifts of resilience and courage in the year of growth and change. We thank you for the ups and downs and all of the joys and challenges we faced. Every experience has helped us come together and helped shape us into the women we are today. We are grateful for each member of this class who has been here from the very first moment APH opened, and those who have joined us at different times along the way. We thank you for all who have shared, what we have shared our time here, and for the friendships that we will take into our futures, and for the legacy our presence will leave at APH. We thank you for the incredible support from our families and from the whole APH community, students, faculty, staff, and administration. Bless us all in this ending that is also a new beginning. Amen.
That extra step. And now Riley. Nope, now Abby.
From Rise Up by Tracy Golding. Rise up to the blessing of another day, to all that awaits you this moment, to all that will challenge you and enlighten you. Rise up to the opportunity to live in your truth and appreciate the truth of others, to make a difference and matter to those in your path and to those never noticed. Be awakened by the joys of opportunities both sought after and placed before you. Rise up to the choices that you have the freedom to make and take delight in being the vessel to enforce them. Embrace your beauty, your strength, and most importantly, your flaws. Be courageous when faced with adversity and smile when you've conquered the impossible. Rise up to your fears and shortcomings and face them with the belief that you are not the only one. You are never alone. There is so much turmoil in the world today. Be that small ripple in the water that becomes the huge wave of hope and positive change. Be that spark that ignites into a blaze of restoration. Rise up to all that we are facing in the world today. It is our foundation of inspiration and purpose. We must be inspired every day to simply and deliberately rise up.
Riley.
For Those Who Have Far to Travel by Jane Richardson. If you could see the journey whole, you might never undertake it, might never dare the first step that propels you from the place you have known toward the place you know not. There is nothing for it but to go, and by our going, take the vows the pilgrim takes, to keep an open eye for the wonders that attend the path, to press on beyond distractions, beyond fatigue, beyond what would tempt you from the way. There are vows that only you will know, the secret promises for your particular path, and the new one that you will need to make, when the road is revealed by turns you could not have foreseen. Each promise becomes part of the path. Each choice creates the road that will take you to the place where at last you will offer the gift most needed, the gift only you can give, before turning to go home by another way.
Michaela? Oh, music? Yeah.
Here we stand.
try something more. That I find what my heart's longing for. And I can't wait to see what's in store. I'll walk through that door. And I'm grateful for the moments when I learned how to stand on my own. And I'm grateful for the memories of the life and the love I have known. And I want you to know, not everything is changing. There's a place deep in my heart that will stay. So when I see the open sky, I will choose to fly. I am still your dreamer.
All right, I don't know how I'm supposed to not start crying before I give my final words of inspiration to this class after that beautiful song and those beautifully read inspirational readings. Thank you all. If you could see the journey whole, you might not ever undertake it, might never dare the first step that propels you from the place you have known to the place you know not. Those lines from Jan Richardson don't share a sudden new insight or a truth that only pertains to this year. It is one of life's truest truths that we are often shaped by events that lie beyond our control. Yet, of course, how can we not also recognize what a remarkable journey this has been, your final year of high school. This year meant the cancellation of so many events you once could take for granted. In-person classes, hanging out in the treehouse, prom, senior week, graduation in June with the whole school on campus celebrating, and parties without masks and social distancing. Families have faced loss of loved ones, changes in jobs and finances. As a nation, we are faced with compound, complex challenges that shake us with an intensity that seems to never let up. In facing these realities, the personal and the collective, we might be forgiven for agreeing with the meme, "The year 2020 is canceled." And yet, here we are. Love is not canceled. Friendship has not been canceled. Courage has not been canceled. Finding creative solutions to each bump along the way has not been canceled. The bonds that shape who you are as an individual and as a graduating class, who you are as a member of your family and of the APH family, those bonds have not been canceled and indeed have stretched and grown with each new challenge you have faced, both personal and collective. Embrace your beauty, your strength, and most importantly, your flaws. Be courageous when faced with adversity and smile when you conquer the impossible. Kintsugi is the Japanese art form of repairing broken pottery with lacquer mixed with gold dust. In that way, the imperfection, rather than being hidden or thrown away, creates a new piece of art. What if those challenges that pushed you, pushed all of us to find hidden reserves of courage in the darkest of moments? What if this is the very way in which you'll create your life as a piece of art? As this remarkable year comes to a close, I find myself thinking back to our first day of school in September. Sitting on this lawn, not one of us knew what was ahead or how much courage this year would call forth in us. We didn't know what friendships we would forge, what fears we might have to face, what distractions might tempt us from the way. We spoke that day about our shared value of courage and how as a school we would lean into challenges and support each other, that we would have the courage to face both our beauty and our flaws. And you, my beautiful, strong, exquisitely and artfully flawed women of the class of 2020, you have risen to all that this moment calls you to be. Each of you has stretched to live wiser and not just smarter. You have been guides to each other, to your younger penguin sisters, to your teachers and your families. You have been open also to being guided as well. You have aspired to turn kindness into a common good, a way of being. You have taken in new friends, released old habits, and put that loving kindness into action in ways small and tender, and in ways that sometimes required much of you. Your individual journeys have shaped and affected all of us at APH and beyond. There are some turning points in life that are clearly marked, like first days of school, or first days of school moving to Zoom. Graduation, of course, is also one of those, and one that compels you to risk everything there is in a leap into the unknown. There is no other choice. The ending is here. As insurmountable as moments leading it up to it may have felt, it is time now to take another road. There will be many other moments ahead of you when the turning points are less clearly defined, or when fear threatens to defeat you. The voice encouraging you to rise up may be subtle, quiet, hard to hear. In those moments, if you find yourself feeling alone, come back to these lessons and remember. Life is often shaped by events that take us by surprise. Let your surprises lead you into your strengths, your courage, and your resilience. Remember that sometimes the voice of courage whispers or laughs or just stands strong and silent in integrity. Keep your eyes and hearts open to unexpected silver linings, even when they might be hard to find. Lean in to the relationships that sustain you. Stretch, forgive, be grateful, be kind, be fierce. Embrace your beauty and your flaws in equal measure. Be vulnerable enough to let your gold-filled cracks shine like a beacon of light. Now, say those vows that only you will know, the secret promises of your particular path. Then go out into the world and be inspired every day to simply and deliberately rise up into your life and purpose. Amen. Kayla?
All right. Dear God, thank you for the gift of being together this morning and for this time of reflection, inspiration, and celebration. We give thanks for beginnings and endings and for all we've learned because of the joys and challenges we have experienced together. Inspire us to face adversity with courage and resilience, remembering that we are never alone. Guide us as we work to create a world where the dignity of each and every person is cherished and protected. Empower us to work tirelessly for justice and peace. Help each of us embrace the wisdom we need to rise up to all that we are facing in the world today. Let it be our foundation of inspiration and purpose. And help us keep an open eye for the wonders that attend the path as we set out on these next steps on our journey. Amen.
The book tradition. Each year, faculty advisors select a book for their seniors, hoping to find something that speaks to or inspires them. Once the books are chosen, each member of the faculty, staff, and administration signs each book. On baccalaureate, the books are presented by the faculty advisors. While the circumstances of our ceremonies are a bit different this year, the book tradition remains strong. Class of 2020, at the conclusion of today's graduation ceremony, you will find your book and a special APH journal over here on this table. Please collect it, and I hope you happily read the messages that the faculty and staff and administration have written expressly for you.
Good morning, and welcome to the tradition of the Legacy Garden. Although we are not gathering in the Legacy Garden today, I think it is important to share with you the meaning and tradition of the Legacy Garden stones. From the first stirring of a vision for an all-girls high school, we knew we wanted to create something different. Not only would the school educate young women, but also enlighten them, empower them to live and to lead exemplary lives. In these hallways, in our classrooms, in service to the larger communities, in every aspect of our life at APH, our students are challenged, nurtured, and encouraged to build relationships, as well as individual achievements. In living out the mission and vision of the Academy at Penguin Hall, each of you leaves an indelible mark on our community. Our Legacy Garden is both a symbol of that vision and a physical representation of the mark that you have left. The courtyard, while off the beaten path of our daily lives, is situated in the heart of the original manor house. Its location invites a quieting of the bustle of everyday activity. There, we are invited to contemplate with reverence and gratitude the very best of who we are called to be at HPH. The river rocks, which are currently displayed on the table to my right, are carved with your name and year of graduation. They will join the stones of all the graduates, beginning with the first graduating class of 2017. You, the class of 2020, are part of that legacy now, the women who have turned these walls into far more than a building. Your names on these simple, beautiful river rocks will now help create an infinity circle, a circle that will grow as our school grows. A circle that represents the very fabric of our school, powered by the gifts, talents, and service you have shared with each of us. Know that we have been blessed to witness the legacy that you leave behind as you walk the next steps of your path. As each of you move onto the next chapter of your lives, we want you to know that you will always be part of the foundation and the fabric of APH. We know that you will continue to make your mark on the world in many, many ways. This is just a symbol and a reminder for all of us that a piece of you will always be here, and you will always have a home at APH. Although you are not able to place your stones today, I invite you to return to APH and visit the Legacy Garden, and of course, all of us. So this concludes the baccalaureate portion of our celebration today. I will ask that the class of 2020 join us on the upper lawn, and we will shortly begin our graduation ceremony. Thank you.
Good morning, APH! It is with a full heart that I welcome President Martins, co-founder Albert Martins, our trustees, our amazing alumni who sound so beautiful today, students, families, and friends, and to each of the very, very special members of the class of 2020, congratulations. It's my very great pleasure to welcome everyone here to the Academy at Penguin Hall's commencement. First, I want to say thank you to all the family and friends with us today for the encouragement and support you have offered, and in many cases for the sacrifices you have made so that your daughter can earn her diploma from the Academy at Penguin Hall. Before we go any further, graduates, let's take a moment to acknowledge your parents and those who've supported you with a round of applause. Class of 2020, we are here to celebrate your achievements. Each of you has made an impact and forever changed us for the better. And personally, you have a very, very special place in my heart. You have shown us that you challenge, break through, and redefined boundaries, that you are individuals committed to each other, to social change, and to the planet. We celebrate your commencement, knowing that our world needs you now more than ever. You are change makers, smart risk takers, and problem solvers. As your next journey begins, you will continue to serve and empower others in your own distinct way and live in the spirit of the Academy at Penguin Hall. As John Lewis was laid to rest this week, we've been reminded of who this man was, a representative, a statesman, and in his early days, an extraordinarily courageous young leader, standing on the front lines against bigotry and hate. We reflect in awe at his persistence in action and service. And each of us in the APH community aspires to be brave, to be bold, and be courageous, as he not only instructed us, but modeled for us. As I look at you, I see both great accomplishment and great hope. As you reflect on your time at APH, on all that you have done here, in serving in the community, in the learning and the leading in which you have engaged, my hope is that you will carry these noble qualities and APH values of hard work, resilience, compassion, integrity, and courage with you wherever you go. May you know great happiness and see progress in your endeavors and continue to be a force for good in this world. Congratulations. Now I would like to welcome President Molly Martins for some graduation remarks.
Good morning and welcome again, friends, family, teachers, and students. Today is a remarkable day, not only because we are all safely together again on our beautiful campus, but also because this is the day to formally mark the graduation of our first four-year class from the Academy at Penguin Hall. Class of 2020, you have helped shape and give life to Penguin Hall, and you leave behind a legacy and blaze a trail that will never be forgotten, just as we will never forget you. We are living through unprecedented and historical times. These past few months have been a test, but also a testament to the unwavering commitment, dedication, and enthusiasm of our students, teachers, and staff. We have chosen to see possibility and opportunity in the face of challenge, and to find ways to connect with and support one another in the face of grief and loss. Students, your ability to adapt and rise to the challenge of not just continuing your studies, but going above and beyond in your projects and in community contributions is proof of your inner strength and great character. It is also a reflection of our core values of resilience and integrity. I am proud of all that you have accomplished over the past years. Class of 2020, my hope is that you will carry this enduring strength and the lessons learned during this time as you attend college in the fall and beyond. I believe I speak for the entire APH faculty and staff when I say I have no doubt that you will make this world a better place. You already do. This year, our theme was courage, which could not have been more fitting given the current events. As you move forward into the future, I encourage you to reflect on what I believe is the greatest act of courage: to live your truth. Living your truth is a lifelong journey, and it is not an easy one. It requires an incredible amount of courage. Living your truth requires falling and getting back up time and again. It requires deep reflection and going against what others define as normal and expected. Living your truth begins with exploring and identifying your values and what is most important to you, figuring out who you are and what you want to give back to this world. As renowned writer of our all-school read, The Feminist Manifesto, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, said in her 2015 Wellesley College commencement address, "All over the world, girls are raised to make themselves likable, to twist themselves into shapes that suit other people. Please do not twist yourself into shapes. If someone likes that version of you that is false and holds back, then they actually just like the twisted shape and not you. And the world is such a glorious, multifaceted, diverse place that there are people in the world who will like you, the real you, as you are." Use this time to figure out who you are, what is important to you, what matters, and align your actions with your values. In those times when you don't align your actions and values, because we all make mistakes, and there will be times when you will not, have the courage to face those mistakes, take responsibility, learn from them, and then apply those lessons to your present and future actions. And remember that kindness without expectation of others and authentic apologies when we have hurt others are brave acts of strength and have the power to transform. Living your truth asks that you open up and dare to embrace the unexpected and learn and lean into discomfort. This is a hard lesson that we learn again and again throughout life, but start practicing now. While the discomfort never fully goes away, you will learn how to use those feelings as a catalyst for self-growth and living a life of purpose. And finally, living your truth requires love. It starts with loving yourself and all the flaws and imperfections, and also loving and owning your strengths and gifts. This foundation of self-acceptance and knowing is so monumental. It has the power to transform us and others in ways that we cannot imagine. And don't just give love to others, be open to receiving it from those around you as well. Living your truth is a path of courageous transformation. Class of 2020, as you go out into the world to make it a better place, my wish is that you learn how to tap into and own this courage, because living your truth is at the heart of being an enlightened and empowered young woman and in leading a truly exemplary life. Congratulations, Class of 2020.
I hate math. Next to golf and listening to the sound of people chewing, it's my least favorite pastime. I will say, though, math class has taught me a majority of the skills I know today. Even though I took Algebra 1 twice, filled more assessments than I can recall, and required an abundance of guidance, including but not limited to Miss Patel explaining to me that my protractor was not in fact broken, I just didn't understand how to use it, I can tell you with full confidence, math is how I made it to graduation in one piece. In second grade, my parents put me in a multi-age class. For the most part, I had the time of my life, until about a month in. I found myself struggling to keep up with my classmates in math lessons. I couldn't understand what or why we were doing the problems we were doing. More times than not, I found a TA at my side helping me get caught up. Sometimes I got to go with the other kids and work in small groups. If only I had known, this was an indication of how I learn. Fast forward to fourth grade, I was accidentally put into the math class with all of the advanced math kids. Was this a match for me? Absolutely not. However, all my friends were really good at math, and our teacher would grade our tests in front of us, and it was awesome. I got really good at failing in front of an audience, and my playdates doubled as math tutoring sessions. The next 5 years were the same. I didn't raise my hand in class, stayed after school, never knew how to study for tests, and somehow managed to make it out with a B- every semester. I owe every single one of those victories to my participation points on homework and the fact that I was at the peak in my awkward phase and my teachers had a soft spot for kids with buck teeth. Finally, sophomore year, I transferred to Penguin Hall. I immediately noticed the difference in our math courses. It was as if the teachers encouraged me to learn the material instead of barely pass each unit. For the first time, I felt myself engaging in geometry, even looking forward to attending most days. It was also miles easier for me to learn without a large class. I know it doesn't look like it, but I get shy. I learned sometimes it takes a good teacher and some welcoming faces just to enjoy going to class. I finished off my sophomore year fairly strong. Despite never understanding how to write a proof, sorry, Mr. Swan, I'd say I did pretty well. I was excited until I learned I'd be taking another algebra course the following year. August 28th, 2018, I met Mr. Borzi. Worst day of my life. Just kidding. In my first Algebra 2 class, we didn't even talk about math. It was just a slideshow about Mr. Borzi's personal life, so we could get to know him better. Once again, at APH, I found myself looking forward to math class. Then life got a little more interesting when I found myself struggling again. I found myself into the familiar pattern of not raising my hand, failing to succeed on tests, and barely making it through the homework, which was now graded on accuracy instead of completion. One day, I sat down with Mr. Borzi to say, this class is kicking my keister, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. He asked me, you never raise your hand, what's holding you back? I was caught off guard. He was the first teacher to ever ask why I didn't ask questions during class. I'm afraid, I said. I'm afraid of what the other kids will think. And it was true. My class had a lot of strong math students, and I'd forgotten the lesson I'd learned in fourth grade, to be comfortable failing in front of an audience. It's not about them, Mr. Borzi said. You're here for you. So I started raising my hand. To my surprise, there was nothing but support from the other students when I had a question. Unfortunately, my grades were still low. So I went back. I said, I started raising my hand, but I'm still not doing well. Why? Mr. Borzi looked at me and he said, honestly, your work is sloppy. I was shocked and angry because I was a stubborn 16-year-old and hated being told any form of criticism. But most importantly, he was right. The rest of the year in algebra was nothing but glamorous. But by February, I was finally passing assessments in that class. It sucked, and it was painful, and there were a lot of mistakes and flaws along the way. But with the help of Mr. Borzi, and maybe half of my grade helping me at one point or another in our locker area, I made it out with a solid grade, this time when I had truly worked to earn. At the end of my junior year, Ms. Healy asked me if I wanted to move on to pre-calc or take an alternative math class to fill my academic requirements. I said what I never thought I would say. I want to take pre-calc. Come late August, the start of my senior year, I walked right back into that classroom of Mr. Borzi. It was a disaster. I was overbooking myself big time, barely passing any assessments, passing in no assignments, missing all sorts of meetings and commitments, trying to succeed in all of my commitments at once, and I crashed. Once again, I found myself sitting in Mr. Borzi's classroom, this time knowing a better approach. Admit where I had failed. I'm sorry I haven't completed my work consistently, I said, prepared to negotiate a solution. This semester has been tough. I was caught off guard by his response. Don't apologize. You overcommitted yourself. Let's think about how we can improve moving forward. By the end of that meeting, I had a plan to get caught up. It took me a minute to get a grip, and once I did, I felt miles better about the class. Here's the funny thing. Most of that meeting wasn't even about math. He told me that day, if you want to switch into a different class, you can. It was at that moment I had realized why I had chosen to take pre-calc over any other math course. It had nothing to do with math. It was about the lessons that came from it. Persistence, courage, learning the value of hard work, problem solving, collaboration. Lessons learned. These core qualities had been derived from every unit circle and quadratic formula I'd ever worked on. You see, every class we had lessons within lessons. Be prepared, be on time. Many of these lessons were quoted on a banner above the classroom whiteboard and at the bottom of every worksheet assigned. Sure, we could all appreciate them, but I never valued any of them until I experienced them myself. I owe my successes in both academics and personal growth to math class. My success for math didn't come from the subject itself, rather, the people that enjoyed doing it. I can't even begin to tell you the countless number of times I sat with Caitlin so she could tutor me before a test, or how many times Steph or Bella or Juliet sat by my side and made sure I could process what was being taught. It is the relationship and sense of community inside this group of graduates, educators, faculty, and future APH graduates that had a lasting impact on me. I can say with full confidence that each graduate standing here today has had a moment of togetherness with that same impact. Whether it be a teacher, a student, or one of our many retreats where we got stuck in the rain, I wouldn't be surprised if you, my fellow graduates, had a similar story with an APH class or educator who helped you further your development through a life lesson as well. Congruent. It means the same, in agreement, or in harmony, according to Google. For our senior class, we bonded most over challenges. I find it was in fact the moments we shared over laughs over the wildness that is our school that we were most congruent. My first memory of a math class was in 3rd grade. I remember my grandma said, "Just try your best, that's all I ask." When congruent ended up being a vocabulary question on the test, I got it right. I believe I remembered it for a reason, that a math lesson and a life lesson are in fact congruent. Thank you. 2 days ago, my speech had a very different start. And then I was asked to give it a title. As I sat there, rereading my speech and trying to figure out what in the world I was going to title it, I realized I couldn't. How could I be able to capture the main idea or major life lesson that I learned from my time here within one headline? Our first day of school was the literal first day of the school, and our last day took place in our bedrooms via Zoom. And everything in between? Well, it was all just as crazy and wonderful. I think it's safe to say our high school experience has been anything but ordinary. So, if anyone knows how to make a headline out of that, I would say help a girl out, but since I'm already up here, I guess it's too late. Thus, this speech has been titled The Untitled Lila Kaplan Project. 4 years ago, we were having lunch outside because there was no such thing as a bistro, and all school meetings were in Excalibur. There was a time when there was only one hive, 7 graduating seniors, 6 girls on the basketball team, hour and 20-minute lunch breaks, and no lockers. And look at us now. When I started high school, my biggest fear was being shoved into a locker. Instead, the upperclassmen welcomed me to high school with open arms. They were the big sisters I never had. They taught me that it didn't matter how old you were, because you can always make a difference, big or small. I still look up to those girls immensely. Freshman year was the year of creation. Spirit Week, Rookery, the student versus faculty basketball game, prom, and the Pebble Cup were all born that year. Our first year was over in the blink of an eye, and then came sophomore year. The school grew exponentially with dozens of new girls and so many new teachers. Despite adding so many new members, the community here never changed. I saw the same girls that welcomed me and took me under their wing welcome the new girls with kindness and compassion. I witnessed the girls in my grade, who were once afraid to speak up, lead these groups of new girls navigating the challenges of high school. And every year following, I watched these girls' confidence grow even more. Last year, everything just clicked. Junior year, our grade just clicked. During our free time, instead of finding different groups of us scattered throughout the building, you found us all sitting together in the junior locker area. Come holiday time, we all brought tablecloths and a mini Christmas tree menorah, so everyone was included. Every locker got a present bow taped on and a stocking. It was my first ever stocking, so it was quite exciting for me. We picked each other's names out of a hat, thus becoming their secret Santa. We set a limit on our budget and then went out to buy our person presents to put in their stockings. After the holidays were over, we continued to decorate our lockers every few weeks to add a little pizzazz to the hallways. Later that year, a rainfall quickly changed what we thought was going to be a retreat filled with swinging from vines and climbing tall structures, to instead a day filled with running through the mud, chasing one another with a pool noodle. It was truly a ridiculous way to spend the day. But what could have been looked at as a major flop ended up being one of the best days we could have asked for. The weeks leading up to senior year were filled with promise and excitement. We were picking our senior shirts, envisioning a crazy awesome senior prank, and catching up with one another. Once school started, the daunting task of applying to college was at the forefront of our minds. If one of us was ever stressed or having a tough time with work or just life itself, the teachers here were so quick to pick us up and encourage us to keep moving. We all really appreciated that. But sometimes they used the phrase, "Don't worry, graduation is only a couple months away, you got this," to which we sometimes responded with, "You don't 100% know we're going to make it to graduation. You can make a hypothesis due to past data, but no one's ever done 4 years here." We were just joking. But now, let me tell you that phrase became scarily true when we got the dreaded email that school was closed until April 27th, and then May 4th, and then the rest of the year. It felt like everything we had been working for was slipping away faster than we could scoop it back up. Never did I think I would be having calculus class from my bedroom, but life happens. As weird as it was to switch to virtual classes, we did it. And I was really grateful to have that structure in my life, and honestly, it was something to do to keep me from watching Netflix every day. When we walked into school that first day 4 years ago, none of us knew what to expect. We didn't know how much homework we were going to have or how strict the dress code would be, but never in a million years would we have guessed that our final days at Penguin Hall wouldn't even be at Penguin Hall. Sometimes during a goodbye, you hear people reflect how they would have done it differently if they were given the chance. But to be honest, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change the utter ridiculousness that was house competitions or the pure ingenuity that was our senior Halloween costumes. If you missed it, we decorated the locker area like a zoo and we were zoo animals. Or all the different variations of morning meeting that came before the almost perfected version. From the sports records we created, college acceptances on the wall, holiday book exchange, and our handwritten magazines on the coffee table, we may be leaving Penguin Hall, but there will always be a bit of class of 2020 sprinkled throughout this building. And with that said, 2020's out.
Hope when you take that jump, you don't feel the fall. Hope when the water rises, you build a wall. Hope when the crowd screams out, they're screaming your name. Hope if everybody runs, you choose to stay. Hope that you fall in love and it hurts so bad. The only way you can know, you gave it all you had. And I hope that you don't suffer but feel the pain. Hope when the moment comes, you'll say, I did it all. I did it all. Owned every second that this world could give. Saw so many places, the things that I did. And with every broken bone, I swear I lived. Hope that you spend your days and they all add up. When the sun goes down, we raise a cup. Wish that I could witness all your joy and all your pain. Until that moment comes, I'll say, I did it all. I did it all. Owned every second that this world could give. Saw so many places, the things that I did. Yeah, with every broken bone, I swear I lived.
From the very first time I drove up the driveway here, I continuously thought of what people would think about me. I came to this school pretty late in the game and was aware of that from my very first day as a transfer junior. I wasn't sure about how I'd fit in, make friends, and honestly find my way from one side of the building to the next, which, might I add, it took me far too long to figure out that all of my classes were, in fact, in the same building. The list went on and on. Despite how anxious I was, I knew that I needed to make an extra effort to get to know people. Everyone else had a sense of familiarity and knew one another, but I didn't know a single person. It was completely up to me to change that. My first day of junior year, September 4th, 2018, was me embracing change as best as I could. However, it didn't feel rewarding one bit. I expected to drive myself to school on the first day, but instead my mom drove me because I had failed my driver's test the week before. As you can imagine, I felt defeated, but that didn't stop me from practicing parallel parking even more. It felt like it was me versus fear, and that I was about to lose upon arrival, considering my student ID failed to unlock the entry door. I patiently waited for someone in the bistro to open the door for me, just to remember that I was stepping into a sea of brand new people. A sea in which everyone but me knew where they were, who they were with, and what to expect on the highly anticipated first day of school. During my first week of classes, I thought buying an agenda book would help acclimate me to daily life here at Penguin Hall. After using it for about a week or so, I realized that Blackbaud existed and that my schedule and homework assignments were already listed out for me there. I can happily tell you that that agenda book never made its way inside my backpack again. Transitioning from one school to another is tough, I'll be honest, but unexpected little moments of realization like this are some of the most exciting parts about change. They make you feel like you're making progress in the right direction and adapting to your new surroundings. After a month or two of being one of the 4 new juniors, I started to notice that I was making my way into conversations and girls were getting to know me. I didn't know how they'd distinguish me from any other student besides being one of the new juniors, but I quickly became known as the girl who drives an orange car. I wasn't thrilled about driving a car that screams obnoxious pumpkin, but I realized that my classmates seemed to like it, so I should too. Soon after, girls then learned that I was gluten intolerant. I was now the new junior who drives an orange car and is allergic to bread. I was embracing this concept of change with all of its unique attributes. If you notice that you're too comfortable with where you are, chances are you're not taking enough risks to progress as a person. So, I did anything I could to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. It was a challenging task to accomplish, but I realized that waiting for good things to come my way wasn't an option. I understood that you can't find change, you have to create it yourself. This concept of change led me on a journey that is incomparable to anything else I've ever done before. I needed to make better days myself, and I did, by choosing to come to Penguin Hall. When I first came to Penguin Hall, it was a complete 180 from what I was used to. Before coming to this school, I'd never taken a class longer than 55 minutes. Here, though, I saw myself appreciating classes that were 80 minutes long. At first, the idea of seminar-style seating in the classrooms was intimidating, but it soon encouraged me to contribute during class discussions. Lunch periods that I used to occupy with homework and studying quickly became enjoyable times spent with friends in the bistro. Speaking in front of large groups of people was something I always used to refrain from doing too, because I didn't think anyone would be interested in what I had to share. I convinced myself that maybe everyone else was right, leading me to think that me and my contributions meant little to nothing. Yet here I am today, surrounded by people who care and knowing that my voice does matter. I learned to embrace these changes as a part of my new routine and grow as a student in a new community. Not only did I see the value in getting to school promptly, but I also noticed myself setting my alarm earlier and earlier as time progressed. And sometimes that meant being the first student in the building every Tuesday morning to plan student council meetings. Don't get me wrong, I dreaded having to wake up at 5:45 in the morning, but I learned to love it because I saw myself evolve into someone who truly believed they belonged somewhere. Looking back, amidst all of these changes in coming to this school, I've noticed that our past 1, 2, 3, or 4 years here have all been different in their own ways. Something that'll never change, though, are the highs and lows we encountered together along the way. We've all felt moments of well-deserved success and inevitable defeat. Trust me, I've seen both firsthand a countless amount of times. From something as pivotal as college acceptances, to the unfortunate days when the bistro menu was changed from mac and cheese to chicken last minute. Through this, I'll admit that I took a lot of these moments with my classmates for granted. Moments filled with Michaela's underappreciated humor and sarcasm, and the dynamic power duo that is Juliana and Holly. At the end of every day, I knew that I'd come back to school the next day and see everyone again. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same anymore, but wish that I could more than anything. Now, I think back to my first few weeks as a transfer student and who I was then at that time. I remember being someone who feared change because I didn't know what it would bring. I was pleasantly surprised, though, because it led me to a community I never thought I'd be a part of, gifted me 23 new wonderful classmates, and created a lifetime of memories. Reflecting on my 2 years here, I look at us, the class of 2020, and see an infinite amount of potential. There's no doubt in my mind that I'll read headlines about Hannah's theater performances, hear about Steph's travels on her mountain bike, see pictures of Juliet's impeccable acai bowl making skills, and admire Angela's artwork on display for everyone to see. From standing in the back of the bistro line together for far too long, to sitting in the beloved senior locker area on a rainy afternoon, I'll hold on to every moment I've shared with each of you. And although this year has heavily impacted us, the senior class, I refuse to let 3 months of my 2 years at Penguin Hall define my high school experience. If there's one thing we can learn from this, it is that you may not have control over everything that happens in life, but you do have a say in how you let it affect you. Nothing will ever deny the fact that my 2 short years here were the best years of my life. This class gave me the confidence I lacked, and more importantly, the people I never knew I needed. As we're faced with undoubtedly the biggest change in our lives thus far, facing college head-on, especially after a global pandemic, I plan on welcoming change as I enter into a new environment. I challenge every single one of you to not fear change, but instead to let change fear you. You'll feel moments of defeat along the way, but what matters is how you decide to get back up. Know that life can be good if you choose to make it good. Class of 2020, you were good to me, and Penguin Hall, you were good to us.
And now, the moment that all of these young women have been waiting for.
Nope.
Members of the class of 2020, by the authority granted me by the Academy at Penguin Hall President Molly Martins, the Board of Trustees, and the faculty, I hereby certify that you have met all the academic, service, and co-curricular requirements for graduation from the Academy at Penguin Hall. We will now confer your diplomas. Autumn Lynn Armano. Carling Taylor Berglund. Abigail Rose Betancourt. Jennifer Lily Bloom. Lila Maeve Kaplan. Holly Elizabeth Carney. Isabella Devereaux Carroll. Juliana Adeline Caruso. Sophie Donna Chabot. Juliette Rose Chait. Nina Marie Dakin. Caitlin Elizabeth Fusillo. Riley Lane Griffin. Michaela Madison Johnson. Shauna Faye Kaplan. Megan Maureen Lemke. Angela Gabriella Mays. Una Mary McCool. Eve Rose Poliski. Chloe Elizabeth Smith. Stephanie Ann Soper. Hannah Ray Verdun. Elise Renee Welch. Mr. Suvalis invoked the words of civil rights icon and Georgia Congressman John Lewis in his welcome. I would like to bookend those remarks by paraphrasing a charge the Honorable Mr. Lewis once made to a group of graduates like yourselves. Take a long, deep breath. Take it all in and roll up your sleeves, because the world is waiting for you, waiting for talented women to lead it to a better place. Congratulations, class of 2020. You may move your tassels. All right, ladies, I'm going to ask you to stand and get yourselves ready for this last moment. Are you ready? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present the class of 2020. Congratulations to everyone, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful day. Graduates, remember to pick up your books at the book table, and families, there are treats from Chef Rich for you to claim as you leave the festivities. How many? One box per family. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon.